So Piaget's model of cognitive development. So Piaget focused on cognitive development of the child. In this model, the child follows a continuous pattern of behavior of adapting and responding to the various stimuli in the environment. And as a result, a behavioral pattern or loop is based on a schema or mental framework that is formed as the child interacts with the environment. So the development of the child's cognitive abilities are categorized into 4 stages. So Piaget believed that there were 4 stages of cognitive development. And those 4 stages were the sensoromotor stage, the pre-operational stage, the concrete operational stage, and the formal operational stage. What you want to do is that you want to connect his name with these 4 stages of cognitive development. So in the first stage, the sensoromotor stage, birth through 18 to 24 months, the child experiences the world primarily through movement and senses, and the body reacts to sensory stimuli in stereotyped ways. In the second year of life, something called object permanence develops. Now, this is an important point to know that object permanence develops in the sensoromotor stage. And what is object permanence? So in object permanence, the child can maintain a mental image of the object, and they can understand that it exists even when it's out of sight. After this develops, the child will look for the object where it disappeared. So you can imagine, say, someone sitting together, a child sitting across the table from an examiner, and the examiner has a pen on the table. And the examiner takes the pen and puts it behind their chair or hides it behind their back. Now, a child at this stage will be able to understand that the pen still exists, and the child will begin to look for the object where it was last seen. In the pre-operational stage, from 2 to 6 years of age, the child develops symbolic functions. They're able to create mental images of objects and occurrences, and they're able to keep them in mind for later use. The child continues to develop motor skills and language skills, and also social skills. Imagination and intuition are strong, but complex abstract thought is still not possible at this point. They develop egocentric thinking and magical thinking, and there is a moral sense that begins to develop in the pre-operational stage as well, where they start to see things as either being good or bad. And in the concrete operational stage, say from 7 to 11 years of age, the child develops rational, logical thought. So now they're no longer egocentric, thinking that the world revolves only around them, and they can now apply a more conceptual framework to the world that allows them to understand someone else's point of view. The child understands the concept of conservation. So another very important point here is that during concrete operational stage, conservation, or the concept of conservation, is understood. Now, the classic example of conservation is the beaker experiment. So in the beaker experiment, what happens is we have 2 identical beakers, A and B, and each has the same amount of water in it. The water from B is then transferred to another or third beaker, C, which is a different shape. A child is then asked if the amount of water in beakers A and C are the same or different. And a child at this stage should understand that the amount of water in the beakers A and C is the same, even if the shape of the container is different. So that's how they kind of tested to see whether or not the concept of conservation was there for a child. In formal operations, which is the last stage, 12 plus years, the child develops abstract thinking, which is the ability to manipulate ideas and theoretical constructs. They develop deductive reasoning, which is the ability to go from general to more particular topics, and conceptual thinking, which is the ability to define concepts and ideas.